Yep. 2006. I was born 2006, 18.
Oops. Okay. Alright, so now YouTube can hear me. That was my bad. There was an update, so everything is kind of messed up. Let me just make sure everything's working. Audio's good. Let me lower this a little bit. Yeah, okay. I don't know, man. Why do you want to join up? We're not here to talk about vegan rights. You could read the screen, right? Not interested in vegan rights. Shows me that you're probably not of age. Tabor Cat, no. You are not 18. You have to be 18, see? 18, must be 18. If you keep requesting up, I will ban you. You're wasting my time. I gotta make it more easier to understand, I guess. Maybe that is too confusing for people. We're not here to talk about veganism, bro. Can you read? I'm asking people if they understand veganism. I don't want to hear you talk about what you want to talk about. You're not 18. You have to be over 18 to talk to adults on the internet. Stop trying to converse with people that are grown adults. That's not safe for you. Do you understand? It's not a safe space for you to be talking with adults. It's weird. And your parents probably would not like that. So you should not be on here trying to talk to adults. It's a very dangerous place. Yes. Yes, what? Tell me what veganism is, Mew. If that's what you're saying yes to. What is veganism? Try to be mature and just answer it genuinely. What do you think? What do you really think veganism is? Tell me what you think of it. What your understanding of it is. What is it? No. Not to end carnism, because that would imply that veganism is a diet. That's not what veganism is. It's not a diet. It's to end the exploitation and commodification of sentient life. So it's not just about a diet, right? Okay, let's look it up, bro. Carnism is the belief system that supports the consumption of products, especially meat. Conditions people, it's an invisible ideology that conditions people to eat animals. Right? We must consume living things. Yeah, sure. Plants are living. You can eat plants. You don't have to consume sentient life. Right? Because you're omnivore. But it sounds like you don't understand what veganism is, George. Do you know what veganism is? What about the vitamins in the plants? Like, I don't understand what, like, is that your justification for eating animals is because they have vitamins in them? Where do they get the nutrients from that's in their flesh? They got it from somewhere, right? No. What vitamins? What nutrients? Can you name them, Rich? And please, if you are going to speak on this, at least be 100% sure about what you're going to say if it's actual truth. So be very careful. What nutrients? There's only one that most people can make an argument for, but the animal themselves are supplemented with that vitamin. So you're getting it secondhand when you can just get it directly. when you come into these kind of lives and you say things, you need to make sure that what you're saying is absolutely true. So, Rich left. He came in, he said that, and left when I asked him to tell me what it was. Maybe he went to go Google it. Oh, Jesus. Where's Persona? I thought he was coming here. He lied to me. How does this co-host work? I guess I can't invite him to be a co-host if he has guests up. And he probably has guests up. Oh, I'm seeing some people here that I've seen before. Potato. I think Potato was the woman that was advocating for riding horses, if I remember. Hey, Lydia. You rock. Thank you. You don't have to do that. Where am I going to put 70 roses? What's up, Ozark? B12. Potato was, I think I had a conversation with her. She was talking about... Lydia, what's the word? What's the word where you lay on the horse to get it to be comfortable with you riding them? I can't remember what it was called. Does it start with an H? No, I don't think so, Jimmy. I don't need to do that to see it and say that that's wrong, that's fucked up. No, it wasn't tame. No, it was a word that you used. Can't remember. What do you need help with, Austin? What's up, Math Chef? How are you? Maybe nah, I forgot what it was. Man, let me see if I can find it. It's like there's like people that do typical, like, I don't know all the terminology when it comes to breaking in a horse, but there's people that they put them in that pen, right? And then they stand in the middle and they do cues or whatever. But there's another method of earning the horse's trust by like just petting them and then laying on them and them getting comfortable with you just like laying on them. I can't remember. I thought it started with an H, but no, Austin, what do you need help with? Can you tell me what you need help with, and then I'll see if I can help you. You said you're a new vegan. Tell me why you went vegan and what you need help with, and maybe we can start there. Let me just promote my TikTok. Maybe Math Chef, you gotta get Gabby in here. She was on my live with me the other day. It was pretty fun to have her here. But Math, what is it Gabby? How do you spell her name so I don't get it wrong? Gabi or Gabby? Gabey? Gabby? Okay. Because somebody did Gabi, and I thought, oh, maybe I've been spelling her name wrong. Hunting with a bow, then tracking with blood trail. Awesome. Jimmy, why can't you do all the aspects of that without taking the deer's life? Like, why can't you still participate in the ideology of hunting, meaning, find some deer by tracking their tracks and like living, or I guess like being in their presence and feeling connected with them in that way, and then just not taking their life. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, I bought her her sweater. I have to wear it to the gym. I'm glad that she's kind of been more active though. It's awesome. She definitely she's a great voice. I think she just has to find her confidence, or not confidence, but yeah, I guess confidence in herself, because she definitely, I like her activism. Aren't vegans hurting plants? Are you a plant advocate, the boogeyman? Are you a plant advocate? Oh, I think they left. It's so hard for me to tell who stays and who leaves. Exactly, Ozark. Exactly. Austin was a troll because he left. Look, Mew gets it. And Mew's not even vegan. I think. Actually, I don't even know. Hey, Leia. How you been? You and Sarah have like similar profile picture, like the same like angle. You're both like leaning to the left, but in the picture leaning to the right. I don't know if Boogeyman is still here. They just said what they said and left. Cliche yoga class? What's cliche yoga? Unless I'm saying that wrong. I'm doing okay. I feel like I haven't been live on my own account in a while. But it feels good to kind of be back here. Yeah, yeah. I've heard the term carnism and I looked it up. I'll be honest. I'm not. He's the first person, or they're the first person that has came in saying being against carnism. But yeah, it didn't seem like it was based in fact. What's cliche yoga? I understand thinking all life is precious. I don't understand trying to force others to do the same. If you understand that all life is precious, why do you then choose to participate in taking the life of something that can experience life more than something else, right? Like we can say all life is precious, but we can understand that a deer, a cow, a pig, a chicken, most certainly can their life is more precious than a carrot or a potato, right? You're a walking cliche. It's more like I'm vegan and I try to live as conscious as possible and am doing yoga. Oh, oh, I get it. Oh gosh, I get it. I get it. I get it. Somebody would look at a vegan and be like, "Oh, they must do yoga. They must be very spiritual." Yeah, I get you. Well, I didn't ask, right, Drip? I'm asking people if they understand what veganism is. And like when you made the comment that you made, and I don't mean no disrespect, but it makes it apparent that you don't understand what veganism is. You're right? Because veganism isn't about let's protect all life, right? I'm not here advocating for people to stop pulling carrots out of the ground. Hey Tabor, can you tell me again in the chat? Okay, you're back. Good. Thank you for typing in the chat because now it lets me block you. Goodbye. God, I don't know why you can't block people unless they type in the chat. See ya. You're a yoga instructor? I cannot imagine that, Ozark. All the videos I've seen of you is just like in your like farming, you're in your camo hat, camo pants, in the woods, teaching people how to carry wood. It's funny. Leia, are you in the States? Oh, you taught jujitsu? That's pretty cool. I used to train uh I always never know what to call it, but it's Filipino martial arts. We just Eskrima, Kali. Um I did that for 3 years and I miss it a lot. The instructor was amazing and just the overall understanding of people needing to protect themselves is I miss that. I don't understand it at all. I mean, ask me what it is. Maybe I'll learn something. There's a lot of people here, but they're probably children. Oh, you're in Germany? What do you do? How'd you find the? Well, I guess you're involved with a lot of other activists, and you just find more people. The only other German person I know that I follow is Tofu Tutty. Tofu, what's her name? But all her lives are in German. So I go in there and I don't know what to. Tofu Tussie, yeah, yeah. I don't understand anything. But she did surprise me because I said, you know, hey, have a good live, and she obviously was speaking German, and then she responded to me in like perfectly normal English. Oh, thanks, vegan perspective. I'm like, holy shit. That's cool. Oh, it's like tofu chick. Tussie. Okay, I learned a new word. Tussie. I don't like this name, but maybe they're gone. Yeah, I think they're gone. Hey,
Hello?
Eternally, are you over 18?
No.
Oh, you gotta be over 18, man. You can't talk to adults on the internet. You have to be over 18. TikTok rules. Plus, be careful, bro. Like, I understand it's you're just doing it for fun, but it's a very dangerous place for you to be talking to adults on the internet like that. John never left. I don't know if I have confidence in this, especially when you just ask, "Can I join?" Are you over 18?
Yes, I am.
What year were you born?
2006. I'm actually exactly 18.
Okay, we'll let it slide. What's your understanding of veganism?
We'll let it slide. Um, I just understand that vegans try to save the planet by not eating animal products
No,
and
I mean that's
by
like
eating
an aspect
plants.
of it, but
That's kind of.
no, it's close. You
So,
mind if I
what
give
is
you
the
the
full
definition?
concept?
Yeah. So veganism is against we're a social justice movement that is against the exploitation of all sentient life. So you know what you're thinking of is like from an environmental standpoint, and it does obviously dive into if we take better care of the environment, then we're obviously doing better for all the living life on it. But um, it's more than that because it extends to almost every aspect of our lives. We don't use animals for entertainment. We don't do horseback riding, dog racing. We don't eat animals. We don't wear animals. We don't put them in our makeup, especially when we have alternatives to all these things in our life, right? So does that make
Right,
sense?
but the majority of those alternatives are made of synthetic chemicals that ultimately defeat the purpose of trying to help the environment.
Well, that's the thing. What I'm saying is, it's not only about the environment. It's in different. It goes into every different aspect of our life, and obviously we can do things better. But vegans are pushing for those things like what you're saying, if that were true, to eventually stop and find alternatives and not use chemicals that harm the environment and all those things, right? So if there are if there are products out there that we can purchase that are bad for the environment, we probably would just avoid it in general
Okay.
as a vegan. Yeah,
Did you know that it is
probably.
mostly impossible to avoid eating animal products?
Well, that's the thing is, in what aspect are you saying? Like, how is it impossible to just say I don't
Well,
want to eat animal flesh?
I'm mainly talking about the fact that the organic vegan plants are grown with shrimp meal,
No,
which
that's
is
not
in
true.
itself
No, that's not true.
ground up shrimp.
No, that's not true. That's what this is a meme that's been going around, and that's not true. Um,
Oh, I
this
didn't
whole
get this off of a meme.
shrimp meal is not being used, and even if it were, we would purchase products that don't involve this. But I don't think that's exactly what's happening.
Then what do you think is happening?
I don't know. I don't know about the
Because it's
shrimp meal.
impossible to grow plants that actually produce food without using some kind of fertilizer.
Yeah, but there are other alternatives to fertilizer than using shrimp meal. It's not exactly. And Ozark here in the chat is a farmer. He's a veganic farmer himself. So
What does he use?
I don't know. Ozark, you want to come up and have a conversation with him about how we're still contributing? The one key thing to remember about veganism is that it's about avoiding exploitation as far and as practicable and possible. So if we have alternatives, we take those alternatives. But us as humans, we still need to survive in some case. So to say that, oh, maybe the carrot, organic carrot I bought, maybe it exploited an animal somehow because it used shrimp meal, but the flesh on your plate most certainly involved the exploitation of an animal by taking its life and all the suffering that it went through. So that's of Ozark. He's more educated on the farming practices.
Hey, John, what's going on?
What's up, Ozark? How's your day going?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to address the whole using animal byproducts as fertilizer. Actually, in the United States alone, less than 8% of the crops are actually fertilized using animal byproducts, and a significant majority of those actually go on crops that go to feed animals. So a lot of the crops like that are used for massive farming are generally like synthetic fertilizers, but on an operation such as mine, I only have a couple of acres. I make stuff like green manure, compost teas, and stuff like that that are void of animal products, and we have no issues growing the thousands of fruit and vegetable plants that we grow yearly.
Hold on one sec.
What's happening? Are we
I
googling?
have no idea.
Are we googling something?
Maybe. I mean, I think if they were Googling something on their phone, it would exit or it would show that they were unavailable on their icon.
All right, I'm back.
Yep. So did you hear what I had mentioned?
About how only a certain percentage of farming is using animal byproducts in their fertilizer.
Yeah, and a lot of the crops that it's like less than 8% in the United States, and a lot of the crops that those plants are spread on are also plants that are used to feed animals. Um, So, like the majority of the fertilizers that we use on an industrial scale are synthetic fertilizers. But I was explaining that, like, on an operation like mine, that's only a couple of acres. We use like green manures and we make compost teas and stuff like that that are void of animal products, and we do just fine with the produce that we grow. And we grow like everything from like soy to wheat to peppers, tomatoes, um, many other veggies. Like the list goes on.
Okay, so can I ask one question?
Yeah,
What is your personal standpoint on people who eat meat?
people who eat meat.
Yes.
So I don't respect the action, but I respect that people are ignorant, including myself at one point in time. It's deep rooted conditioning, so I can't have any negative connotations towards anybody who does that if they're unaware that their actions are bad. This is why we have these discussions, because any of us that were to start criticizing somebody who is unaware of um, their consumption and the harm that's done during it, like right off the bat, it'd be really hypocritical and inauthentic. But obviously once we share the information, it becomes on you to do your due diligence and kind of understand the consequences of your own actions and kind of make your decision accordingly.
So, I've never really understood the whole vegan argument of why eating meat is so wrong. I understand the animal cruelty point of view, and I understand that it's harmful to them and they get put through all these,
Well, do
they
you
get
know what veganism
mistreated.
actually is?
I mean, all I know is that it's a whole bunch of people who are against eating meat, and some people take it too far.
Okay, so veganism, that's like the dietary aspect of it, but veganism itself is a philosophy and a way of life where we aim to exclude all forms of exploitation of sentient beings, right? So, do you understand what the term the term exploitation means?
Yeah, it means to use something
Unfairly to benefit
unfairly.
yourself,
Yeah.
right? So that's what we're against. We're against the unnecessary exploitation of others. Just simply put, that's what it is. And that's why it's bad, because we are unfairly using others, because we want to. We don't have to. Most people,
But
I want to say most people, not, I know there's statistical outliers, but most people don't have to.
okay, but the human body requires some type of protein to survive.
So
You
yeah,
can't just survive by eating just plants.
all 9 essential amino acids can be obtained from plants. In fact, legumes like soy and peas are complete proteins. There's a few others like hemp seeds and other stuff out there, but you can also mix and match foods that have one set of protein and another set of, or one set of amino acids that are lacking, and then the other have the complementary amino acids, because our body does an excellent job of both combining and breaking down proteins, right, and using them where they're needed. The American Dietetics Association, which is the largest governing body on nutrition in the United States, has concluded that everybody at all stages of life can consume a plant-based diet and be healthy. And a lot of the comparative research available, like the abundance of it, has determined that, in fact, eating a whole food plant-based diet compared to an animal inclusive diet can be a lot healthier for you and reduces risk factors from like obesity, coronary heart disease, different types of cancers, and other preventable illnesses.
Okay, so
Like
eating
these are
plants
like
could prevent
these
people.
are this is research that's published on like PubMed, National Institute of Health, and other publishing sources for like scientific research.
So
I
this
didn't
is
mean to cut you off.
basically.
Sorry, what were you saying?
No, you're okay. I was listening. The way that I'm thinking about this, it just, I keep thinking, my brain keeps wanting me to think back to how ancient civilizations survived, like the Native Americans. They would go and hunt bison and use every single part of the bison all the way down to its bones, and
Sure.
they would literally like thank the bison for giving it everything that it had,
Well, I would like
and
to
use it
address
to
the.
continue living.
I
And
would
they
like
lived
to
their lives
address.
very healthily.
Well, sure. I would like to address the or the past like potential need for using animal products versus now, right? Like in the past, we didn't have grocery stores. We didn't have the abundance of options that are available right now, and there were definitely points in history where humans did have to survive and benefit from animal consumption.
But they also had farming, and they
But
still chose to eat meat.
yeah, okay. So it wasn't like I said, they didn't have grocery stores and the availability that we have today. Like things were a lot different back then. They didn't have the technology that we have today to mass produce a lot of food and stuff like that, right? They couldn't walk into like a Walmart super center and have an abundance of stuff. They grew specific plants that they were pretty talented at growing, like as companion plants again amongst each other, and then relied on animals. And then in the past, humans had to hunt and scavenge. But again, today we have an abundance of options, right? Like an abundance of options. Most people have access to where they can not consume animals and still have a healthy diet.
I can understand that, but what about the standpoints from the people who just think that there's nothing wrong with eating meat?
Well, sure. I mean, I know that there's people that don't think that there's anything wrong with being racist or
How
sexist or, you know,
how
anything
how
like
are those
that.
topics
But
anywhere aligned with this?
do you know what the term oppression is? Do you know what the term oppression is?
You can tell me if you want.
No, I'm just asking. Well, do you know what it is? Like, do you know what oppressing somebody is?
Well, I'm assuming it's whenever a semi-majority, quote unquote, wants to push down another type of person.
So, do you think that like using somebody unfairly for your own benefit when you don't have to would be a form of oppression?
I can kind of see where you're going with this, and you're going to ask if it's okay for humans to be oppressing animals.
No, I'm just saying in general. Like, you either think oppression's okay or you don't. You know.
Well,
And what I'm
no,
trying to highlight to you is
everyone's
like,
equal.
are you familiar with the term speciesism?
No.
So, speciesism is the unfounded assumption of human superiority that leads to the exploitation of non human animals. Right? Do you
Okay.
see how that? Do you see how that parallels the other forms of isms, like sexism or racism or anything? They're all discriminatory in nature and lead to oppression.
Okay.
So that's where I'm trying to go with it. It might not seem like it's relevant, but the mindset that, well, we're humans and they're not is exactly the same thing as, say, like, well, I'm white and they're not, or I'm a man and she's not. You know, you kind of get where I'm going with this.
Kind of, but
Yeah, so I'm just trying to like keep it logically consistent here. Oppression is oppression, and that's what we are trying to discuss here.
I thought we were trying to discuss veganism.
Well, veganism is a movement. It's a social justice movement, right? We are trying to abolish the use of others. You know, we are trying to abolish that oppression of others that are not us.
Yeah, and that goes hand in hand in what you said yourself. And why don't we just let the people who want to continue eating animals leave them alone? Because they're part of these groups of people that are oppressing animals. They're seeing whether it's speciesism or that they just want to do it for their health or their benefit. They're using these animals solely for the purpose that they can benefit from using them when they don't have to, because we have the capabilities to thrive on a plant-based diet. So if you could thrive on a plant-based diet, why would you not stand against what happens to these animals?
What exactly happens to these animals other than the fact that they get raised up to be slaughtered,
So
to be
would
food
you
for the
like
masses?
would you be okay if anybody you loved, including yourself, went through 100% of the whole process that a farmed animal goes through?
Well, I'm not a cow, so I honestly
No,
can't
but
imagine
but
that.
cows are animals and humans are also animals. So I'm asking you, would you be okay in that scenario?
Well,
Like, would you be
if I
okay
were
with
an
that?
animal, thinking about this logically,
You are an
animals
animal.
eat animals, so naturally, this is the way things go. Sure, animals don't farm other animals to be
Oh,
their food, but at
so
the same
because they do it
time,
in nature, it's okay. Are
no,
you?
that's not. No,
Wait,
that's
well,
not what
that's
I'm
what you're
saying.
saying. That
I
that you're
understand what
saying
I'm saying.
animals eat animals, right? So
Animals do
that's
eat
your
animals. That is a
so
fact.
that's your justification, or what?
No, my justification is the fact that humans as a species are omnivorous, meaning they could eat plants, animals, fruits, nuts, anything.
Yes,
And
but
our
humans
body
also
primarily requires meat because our ancestors mostly ate meat.
actually Astropithecus, which
And
is
vegetables and nuts.
they started off as herbivorous, and you know we moved into scavenging animals. We can still survive without animals. But so what I'm trying to get understand here is then what is the relevance of other animals being able to or consuming animals that if it's not a justification for us, then why is that important? What other animals are doing?
Well, if what other animals are doing isn't important, then why is it important that we're doing it too?
So do you think like infanticide should just be overlooked because animals do that? Or cannibalism, which is common in over 1,500 species, or even like essaying others because it happens in the animal kingdom, like that those
No,
things should.
see, animals don't have morals. People do. And people have different morals.
Okay, so listen to what you're saying right here, really quickly. People have morals. We are moral
Hmm.
agents, right? So we have the capacity to understand that what we are doing might be right or wrong.
And a lot of people don't view it as wrong
No,
because that's the way things
a
go.
lot of people don't view it as wrong because they've been conditioned. But when you break it down logically and you like inquire about their morals, they're inconsistent within their own morals. So they don't necessarily think it's right. Like, can I ask you, do you think it is okay to take the life of another individual because you want to? You'll gain some pleasure from it.
Specify individual.
Another sentient autonomous being.
A human.
Well, a human's an animal and an animal is an animal, so I'm referring to autonomous beings, right? Any
Okay,
autonomous.
so if you're meaning like I need you to be more descriptive. Something that walks on two legs or on four.
Why does it matter?
Because humans are smarter, they're more intelligent, they understand, they can talk, they
So
can speak, they
what
can.
about the humans that are not so intelligent, like that are like mentally impaired or like young children who don't have that capacity?
You mean people with autism or Down syndromes and babies?
Whatever. I mean, people that are incapable of operating the same way I guess, quote unquote, normal adult human being can with their intelligence and rationalize.
Can you re-ask that, please? My brain just blanked.
Yeah. So you said like humans are more intelligent, and you seem to be using intelligence as a justification of using others and not them. So I'm asking, what about humans that are mentally impaired or incapable of that sort of logic and reasoning?
Well, then those people need to be cared for. They have special needs. Like they need to be
So
helped and nurtured.
why wouldn't we extend that to other animals and just kind of let them live their life and steward them instead of exploiting them because we want to enjoy a burger?
Well, here's the thing. People have preferences, right?
Jeffrey Dahmer had preferences.
We're not talking about Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey
You
Dahmer was a
said
fucking
people and Jeffrey
psychopath.
Dahmer was a person.
He was a psychopath.
He had
That man
preferences.
had mental issues.
No, he had preferences.
I
He
mean,
had
there are a lot
mental
of people in the
issues.
world that have preferences of hitting people or unaliving people or essaying people or just running, taking their car and driving through a parade. Like those people have all had preferences too. We don't look at those
Yeah,
and say that they're okay, right?
yeah, I just want to say it's only a mental illness because you don't agree with it. Like his justification for it was because it was his preference. Like you just don't agree with that. So you're saying that that's got to be some sort of like mental illness because you don't agree with it.
Well,
It
I
doesn't
mean,
align with your idea of what's acceptable as oppression and what's
I
not.
learned about Jeffrey Dahmer in school. Jeffrey Dahmer ate people. He did all these other things. He cut up people. Whatever the hell he did. It was irrelevant. The whole thing behind it is that he had a messed up childhood and decided to take that out on other people.
many people have messed up childhoods.
I know. And people like myself choose not to take it out on others
Yeah, but you're paying for others to be sliced up and mutilated so you can enjoy them.
because that's what I enjoy. That's what I like. Those are my preferences. And along with a lot
So
of other
again,
people on this
it's
planet.
only a mental illness if it
So
doesn't
are you trying
align
to
with
say the fact
your
that I like
ideal
meat
self.
is a mental illness?
No, I mean I'm not the one who brought mental illness into it. You said preferences.
But that's what you're
No,
saying, right?
you said preferences, and I described a person with preferences, and you called it a mental illness because you don't agree with that person's
I called the
preferences.
fact that Jeffrey Dahmer was a psychopath a mental illness. I'm not talking about people in general.
Yeah,
Okay,
but you're
I
saying
pointed
he's a
out a person with
psychopath because he ate
preferences.
people and chopped people up. That's why you're saying he's a psychopath. It's not like
He's a
those two.
psychopath
Those
because
two
this
go
man
hand in hand.
legitimately had things wrong with him. Like he had legitimate mental illnesses.
So if he was, let's just, maybe because I feel like maybe you're holding on to the fact that it was only humans. But if people went around and just picked up stray dogs and just decided to eat and kill all these stray dogs and cats that were on the street, or even maybe take some people's dogs away from them and just kill them and eat them, what would you call that person? You'd call them being normal, or would you say they're being a psychopath?
Well, I'd obviously assume that there's something wrong with them, but then I think about the fact that okay, yes, they're considered pets, but also in Asian countries they eat cats and dogs.
But what does that have to do with the
So
person that's here? Like say he's in America, he's in the
in the
U.S.
United States, and he's just taking dogs and cats out of people's homes. Well, yeah, there's something wrong with him. He's taking people's pets away from them.
What if they were just stray? He's just grabbing stray pets, or even let's say he was going to shelters and bringing these taking these animals from shelters and then just taking them home to eat them. Does that sound like a psychopath?
That definitely doesn't sound like a person who has everything going right for him.
Why? It's no different than eating
Yes.
cows and pigs, right? Like, what's the
How so?
difference? Well, do you tell me? You're the one that's saying a person that chops and eats up cows versus a person that chops and eats dogs. One is a
You're
psychopath and one
comparing
isn't.
animals that have been our food for hundreds of years to animals that have been our pets,
But does
helping
that
us
but does
collect
that make it
food for
okay?
hundreds of years. In return, they get some
So
of the food themselves.
what's the moral difference? Like a pig has the intelligence of a young toddler. They are smarter than dogs.
Okay.
You know, we confine them to these little cages and gestation chambers for their whole life while they give birth, and then we throw them into gas chambers.
I don't
But it's
necessarily
okay
like
though because we bred them as food, right?
I mean, they've been bred as food.
Yeah, but that's your
But
only
so the
justification.
fact that
Yeah. Go
the
ahead.
fact that we just breed somebody into existence for the sole purpose of them being food makes it justifiable.
I'm not saying it's justifiable, but I also don't see anything wrong with it. I
So
mean,
you
I can
don't see
understand.
anything wrong
Listen,
with
I
it.
can understand the whole process of bringing up animals in wrong ways. Like free range is an
Can I?
option. You can allow these animals to live their lives peacefully
They
up
are
until the
still
point.
they are still being forced into a situation to where they are going to be unalive
Slaughtered.
for you to
Yeah,
enjoy.
at some point in
Right. So
time.
can I ask you a question?
Go
If I
for
went
it.
to the other side of the world and somebody fed me this dish and it had human in it, like it was a society that accepted cannibalism, and then I realized I really enjoyed the taste of humans. That became my preference. I still have empathy. I'm not a psychopath. Would it be okay for me to come home now and start breeding humans to be food for the specific point of being food?
Well, no,
Because it's
because
my
that's illegal.
preference. Well, sure. I mean, I hate to bring it up, but things like slavery used to be legal.
Yeah, used to
legality
be.
is no
Keyword used to be.
justification. Well,
Abraham Lincoln
exactly.
abolished slavery, so we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Just like we are trying to do the same thing for oppressing animals. So,
So you're
barring
trying to
legality
abolish
aside,
our
let's say
food?
it was legal. Let's say it was legal, right? Let's say it became legal for me to do that. Because it's my preference now, because I tried it somewhere and I decided it was just so delicious, would that be okay?
I'm sorry, I was responding to someone in the chat. What would you say?
Dude, if you're going to be here, like, engage with us, like, not the chat.
I am engaging. This dude had a question. I'm sorry.
I was asking you, barring legality, let's say it was just legal, it's a free for all, and I just somehow managed to taste human flesh and it became a preference, would it be okay to farm them for the sole purpose of being food and then consuming them? Would that be okay to you?
Well, me? No, that would not be okay. But that's
Why
just
not?
me. Because you have to think.
That's what
Eating
we're
people,
discussing you right now.
eating people quite literally releases a chemical in your brain that turns you into a psychopath. Like it quite
There, there,
literally
there
changes
there's
your brain
no,
chemistry.
there is no scientific data that has ever concluded that.
Really.
Really.
So you're telling me that these people who eat people, they don't seem different after they eat it? They don't seem like they want it more than anything else? They don't seem like
Not,
they crave that more than anything else?
dude, from everything that I've read about cannibalism, eating humans is similar to eating pork. So as much as people like eating bacon, I don't see why it would be any different. Like they just like the taste of humans. So I'm asking you specifically, according to your own morals, what would be the difference between me doing that because it became preference versus what you are doing because it's preference? We'd both be paying for animals to be farmed and consumed. It's just different species.
Okay.
No, I'm
So then
asking
tell
you,
me.
like,
So then tell me,
I'm
what would
asking you, why
happen?
is one okay versus the other?
Repeat that?
I'm asking you, why is one scenario okay, but the other's not?
Okay, between eating farmed animals and eating
And
people?
eating farmed people.
The whole difference is one is a person, and I understand the whole speciesism thing that you were talking about earlier. Like we look down on them because they're not humans, because they're not as intelligent as we are. But at the same
Sure.
time, I think about it as okay, a lot of humans need to survive. Not all humans eat plants. A lot of
Okay,
humans
so
eat animals.
again, most people, barring statistical outliers, which make up less than 0.3% of the population, have accessible options. They don't have to consume animals.
You're right, they don't have to.
Yep, that's my point here, right? You are choosing oppression when you don't have to.
Why view it as oppression, though?
Do you know what
Because
happens to
it's
these animals?
oppression.
Yeah, do you know what happens to them? Are you at least aware of what happens to these animals? We can
I
describe
mean,
it to
I'm
you.
aware of the fact that cows get literally raised to be butchered, pigs get raised to be bleeded out, and
But this goes back to the question: if somebody put you into that situation, would you feel like you were being oppressed?
I wouldn't feel very good about it, no.
Okay, that's my point here, right? It's oppression. If it were happening to you, you would feel like you were being oppressed. So if you're doing it to others, you are oppressing others.
So I have a question.
Well, first, do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
Okay, cool. I just want to make sure you're tracking. What's your question?
My question is, if things were done differently in a more humane way, would you be okay with it?
Do you know what humane means?
I mean humane as in like it's okay for these animals, like
Do you know what
they
I'm
get
asking? Do you know what it means though?
not entirely.
It's extending compassion and sympathy. So
Okay.
my
Yeah,
question to you would be, how do you extend compassion and sympathy by taking the life of another individual when you don't have to? How is there anything compassionate or sympathetic about that?
because you can understand what it's like. Because listen, what I was trying to say is if things were done in a more humane way, empathetic and sympathetic, right? Like these animals weren't raised in boxes or they weren't raised in cages just to be slaughtered 6 months later. Like, you let them roam free, live their lives, do their thing. And then whenever you need the food, go quote unquote collect it.
So let's use this. We'll use another form of oppression again, just to kind of break this down and see how you feel about this, right? Holding a human against their will and making them do stuff for you, slave labor, whatever it might be, but treating them well in the process. But they can't escape that. Like they are like you are keeping them obligated to you. Would you still consider that somehow humane?
Well, I think about it in this case. These animals, okay,
Well,
they
I
are
want you to
sentient. They are
answer the question first, please, before you move on into another logical fallacy. Do you think? How about this? I'll do one better. Do you think a man that wines and dines a woman and courts her and is extremely nice to her the whole evening and then takes her home and then essays her? You think how he treated her beforehand justifies that action right then?
Well, absolutely not. They need consent to do
Exactly.
anything.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, they did not consent.
That's a good one,
Okay.
Ozark. I like
So
that.
how is an animal tell me please, how is an animal supposed to consent?
Exactly. They can't.
Okay, but at the same time, we think about it like this. We need meat. They are meat.
We don't.
I mean, you say we don't, but at the same
No,
time, I
scientifically,
need
like it has been clinically demonstrated time and time again, we don't need meat. Plant-based
I
diets
need
are
meat.
generally up to 35% cheaper. You don't. There's no like why do you need meat?
Well, I don't need it. I want it.
There you
That's
go.
my preference.
So
That's what I like to eat.
Exactly. Yeah. See,
I don't like. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like my vegetables too. Like,
yeah,
I'll
but you
eat me
see, do you
some
see how you
broccoli, some
now fall?
spinach.
Listen, but John, do you see how you when you say something like that, how you other people can use that same logic to justify shit that they've done that's cruel? Like that's what veganism is trying to help people realize is that if you come from a place where you need to eat animal products for whatever rare disease you have, or you're in a situation where you just don't have access to food, like that is where it becomes justifiable. But for you to say that you just want it, not that you need it because of taste pleasure, is the same way how Ozark brought up the situation where if the man feels like he can SA whoever he wants and say, well, I don't care, I just want it, like that puts you in the same position. You're saying that these
How
things
is
that happen are
sexual assault and eating meat even in the same category?
because the
because they
way.
are both
Go ahead.
unnecessary actions.
Yeah.
I was going to say because they are both largely unnecessary actions. Like the case that people make for eating meat right now is the same case that somebody could make for essaying somebody, right? Well, I do it for my health. Okay. Well, I did that because I wanted to reproduce. Okay. Like you don't need to essay people to reproduce. You don't even need to do that to gain pleasure. You can go do that yourself. You know. Same thing with eating animals. Like you don't have to do it. Most people don't have to do it.
Yeah. And I would go as far as to say that if the idea of somebody essaying another person is disgusting to you, you should look at what happens to the animals in animal agriculture. Because as far as I understand, your only understanding is, okay, cow born, cows raised, and then unalived, and it's on my plate, or they're on my plate. But it's you have to understand that these dairy cows, in order for them to produce milk, they have to be pregnant. And in order for them to get the
Yep.
milk, they have to take the calf away from the mother. In order for
Mm-hmm.
veal to be on your plate, the cows are slaughtered at under 18 months of age when
Okay,
they can
see,
live up to 15,
I
20,
don't
right?
really
So
agree with veal. Veal is
No,
not okay.
So I also want to mention that the majority of animals that are farmed and consumed are also artificially inseminated to give birth. right? So that's a form of SA.
Veal is not okay with me. I'm just gonna say that no one should kill babies. Babies are off limits.
Well, the majority of the animals are killed at an early stage in life. Like cows have like the capacity to live over 20 years, and it's like 18 months where the average cow is like slaughtered.
Well, see, then you have to look
Chickens
at it. How long does it
like
take for a cow
6 months.
to adulthood, mature to adulthood?
It doesn't matter though. This is what I'm trying to say. Like their lives are being taken from them in an extremely young age. Like you're literally consuming like child animals.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say child. That depends on the species, because different species mature at different rates.
I
So, what
mean,
is considered an adult
you can
to a
even look at
cow would
it
be
like,
considered a baby to
yeah,
us.
look at it percentage wise, right? Like if a cow can live anywhere between 15 to 20 years of age and they're slaughtered at the age of 4 or 18 months reveal, that's a child, right? That's like if you were 18, if you were 20, if you were going as far as to say veal, then that's as if saying that they are unaliving like a 4-year-old or a 1-year-old. Like you don't
Yeah.
even have to say that like, oh, cows only live up to 20, so it's impossible for them to be considered babies, but just look at it from a comparable standpoint compared to humans. The length of time that they can live out their age is taken from them at a mere fraction of their entire possible existence. So
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like you graduating high school and somebody being like, "All right, time to go to the slaughterhouse." You know, for the mature animal you're referring to.
yeah. And just
Okay.
to clarify one thing, John, because somebody did mention it as well, is that even if the idea of veal is disgusting to you because they're slaughtered so young, I don't know if you know, but because male chicks are unprofitable for the hatchery industry or egg-laying industry, male chicks on day 1 of their life are sent into a macerator, which is just a giant blender. And
Grinder. Yeah.
yes, on day
Yeah, I
1
know
of
about
life.
that.
So you can't. The whole reason why we're here trying to have conversations with people is that you have to realize that as long as you know this and you continue to contribute by purchasing those products, this is going to always happen. These are the practices. The human race is a very, very good at being efficient, and that these efficiencies exist because of the demand. So you can't say that harming less is better. You can't say that what if we did it right? What if we did it more ethically? What if we did it on a smaller scale? Because the whole reason why these industries exist is because at some point people started to see these animals as commodities, meaning we could use them for our own desires and our own wants. That has slowly evolved over time to factory farming. So vegans are against the whole idea of continuously perpetuating the idea that animals are here for us when we don't need to use them for our benefit. We have other options. We have other alternatives. So I just wanted to point that out.
Do vegans believe that they can eventually stop the consumption of meat?
I mean, you can't stop everything 100%. Like people are still going to do it illegally in some degree, but that's still a better outcome than the scale of what we're doing right now.
Yeah, the vegan population is increasing, you know, and industries such as the dairy industry are shrinking because of plant-based options that have become available. So the change is happening. Like the amount of vegans today are comparable to the amount of actual abolitionists pre-Civil War that sparked the change within slavery policy.
Okay. But what about those people who don't want to stop eating meat? Who don't see anything wrong with it? Who don't view it as this is just a off the wall question?
No, it's a fair question. I mean, I live about 70 miles from the KKK national headquarters in the United States. I can't do anything about it, even though I disagree with it. I can't force them to stop doing what they're doing. I can make a personal choice to not do that and speak out against it. And that's all we're doing right now, you know?
Yeah. It starts with you yourself. You're here talking to us. And the least that we can do is try to show people what they're contributing to, and that you now moving forward throughout your life have that information on hand to say, do I want to continue supporting this or not? You know, it has to start from somewhere. And those people who just absolutely do not care, we can only do so much, but to at least have civil conversation with people like you or a person like you who comes up on here with genuine questions, and at least educate you on what's happening and what your choices are contributing to, so that you can now make better choices going forward, and you can lead by example, and you might influence somebody next to you without even having to say anything. So we can't focus too much on those, that 1% of people who just absolutely don't give a shit or don't care. We have to try to focus on the people who do care, who do want to have conversations, and who do want to be more educated on what's happening and be more aware. So that's why we have these TikTok lives, to have conversations with people like you.
Yeah, I also want to really just address the whole use of preference as a justification. I really want you to contemplate and consider moving away from using that as a justification, because what you imply there is that every person that does anything bad that you might view as bad is just acting out of preference, and speaking out against that would be, I guess, hypocritical if you agree that your form of oppression is just a preference versus somebody else's. I think that's like a real barrier that we need to bust.
Okay. So I have a question. This is off the wall. This is an idea that I've been having. I've been thinking about starting a homestead, like buying some land and farming it myself.
Mm-hmm.
See, here's the thing. I like meat. So,
I know you already said that it's your preference.
yeah. So, would there be something wrong with me allowing these animals to live a long, healthy life, and then by the time that they come to the end of it, I take their life and I eat them?
So not only
Would there
is
be
that
something wrong
like
with that?
from like as a homesteader myself, I'll address this ethically and economically. Like, you don't need to have a homestead and raise animals. You use significantly less land to grow enough plants to consume than required to raise animals to consume those animals. Like, you need up to 15 times more land unless you are buying feed for these animals, which makes the whole idea significantly more redundant. Um, because not only are you unnecessarily using these animals, but you're unnecessarily using a lot more land, resources, finances, whatever the case may be.
Okay, but if I'm growing my own food for the animals and for me to give to the animals, why can't I just enjoy both plants and animals at the same time?
Because you're unnecessarily using those animals, and it's going to require a significant amount more work and resources. So it's both unethical and unsustainable comparatively. Like, you need a fraction of the land to grow. Like, if you're going to grow food to feed animals, to feed yourself, like, you might as well just grow the food to feed yourself. You'd save yourself a ton of resources too.
Okay, but at the same time, as someone who's grown up eating meat, who doesn't, who views that there is something wrong with the way that we obtain our meat and how the meat is treated, but still enjoys eating meat, I myself could
Do,
go out and do it differently, allowing these
do you
animals to live their
think
lives.
do you think that most of us became vegan because we didn't like eating meat?
No, I don't. I think you became vegan because you started hearing some facts, and those facts started resonating with you, and then you made your own personal decision to become a vegan.
Yes, so I became a vegan when I was 33 years old. I had a lot of the same inquiries and justifications that um, you have right now when I was your age, you know? And I've been on a plant-based diet for like 6 years at this point. Um, like it's just not necessary. And eventually, like the whole desire for consuming animals goes away and eventually becomes kind of repulsive despite the available alternative options, right? So I can make a lot of like extremely comparable alternatives, but the thought of consuming the real thing to me at this point, now compared to when I first became a vegan, is just incomprehensible and gross. And I loved eating meat and steaks and cheese and pepperoni pizzas before I became a vegan.
And I can understand that. But those are just some things that I could never see myself viewing. Like,
Can I ask why though?
I could never look at a steak and just think, man, that doesn't look good.
What if there was a steak that tasted the same, had the same texture, and was made from plants?
I could tell.
Yeah, but it's like the fact that you can like visualize and make your mouth water thinking about a steak doesn't really mean you have to do it though. Like even if you can tell, you can find alternatives and eventually not be interested in doing that. It'd be like me oogling another woman and being like, man, I want a piece of that. I'm objectifying that person, right? That's gross. Like that's what you're doing when you're like talking like that about animals.
So I'm objectifying animals.
Yes.
Okay. So how do you not objectify an animal but still eat it?
Exactly. I mean, you just
No, I'm
that's
asking you.
no. You answered it yourself. Like
Yeah.
you can't. That's why you are objectifying them. You're seeing them as a like a nutrition benefit, a taste, a pleasure. You're just seeing them as something for you to partake in, out of your own enjoyment. That's why we're saying that you are objectifying them, because you can't eat someone, and not objectify them. You're just seeing them as a food source, not seeing them as an individual. You know.
Okay, but what if me personally, I like to thank my food before I eat it because I
Why?
know that food, because it went through a lot just to end up on my plate, and that makes me feel bad. It makes me feel bad, but at the same time, I'm still gonna sit here and eat this steak because
So
that's what I like to do.
if somebody started strangling you because they wanted to use your body and they started thanking you for it, that would make that better
See,
somehow.
you guys keep going back to the whole people on people actions.
Because
Like that
this is
doesn't it
what
doesn't make sense.
it does. Are humans mammals?
Yes, they are mammals.
Are mammals part of the animal kingdom?
Yes.
So then it makes perfect sense to use humans because humans are also animals.
Yes, but we are intelligent. And I understand that a lot of other animals that we eat are also intelligent to a certain degree, but you cannot argue the fact that humans are more intelligent than most of the
But
species on this
but
planet.
that's just a trait, and that is arbitrary amongst humans. Like not all humans are intelligent. Sure, the majority of humans might have a baseline of intelligence, but not every human reaches that level of intelligence. So using intelligence is not a justifiable trait that somehow makes it different uh, to exploit other non-human animals versus us. So again, if somebody was trying to exploit you and saying thank you, would that make it any better? Like while they were harming you?
I mean, if they were thanking me, that would be kind of weird. I'd feel like they were getting something out of that.
Yeah. So
But at the
that's like
same time,
the difference
at the
between
same
you doing
time,
that to somebody else.
yeah, but it's not somebody else. It's not another person.
It's another animal living a subjective
It is another animal.
experience.
You're right.
So
Yes,
whatever
it
the
is another
equivalent
animal.
word to somebody else would be in terms of use in animals, then we could apply that word if you have a word for it. If not, I am using the term somebody else.
Okay.
I mean, it could be very easy for somebody to just objectify you and do that to you. But like you said, it would kind of be weird if somebody was harming you because they wanted to use you and then started saying thank you. Like it wouldn't make it any better.
Hold on, I'm processing real quick. Okay. See, I keep thinking about that scenario. Okay.
Are
But
we
at the
still
same
here?
time, what?
Huh? I don't know. Hello? Ozark? Did we lose him?
I'm very confused. What's going on?
It's okay. Maybe just go ahead and continue your thought. Maybe maybe he's got something that phone call or
Did
something.
my sound cut out or is nobody just talking right now?
No, your sound cut out.
Yeah, what's going on? I hear. Yeah, it's him. Give me 1 sec. Let me see. Can you speak real quick, John? I want to make sure that the audio is coming through.
Hello?
Yeah, it's Ozark. Let's just get him to rejoin, and you could just sit on what you were thinking and have him rejoin.
Okay.
All right, let me pull him back up.
Hi, sorry about that. I have no idea what happened. I just stopped hearing everybody.
You hear us now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Oh,
were we?
yeah. I was thinking about the scenario of the person strangling me and then thanking me for whatever the hell they're going to take from me. And how weird that would be. Okay, yes, I can understand that point of view. But at the same time, I just think about it as who are we affecting other than the animals? Other than the animals, who are we affecting by eating meat?
we're the other animals.
The other
Also,
animals?
yeah, I mean, you're directly affecting somebody else's own life. But I also want to mention too, like, animal consumption has led to more than 95% of species extinction, right, since our agriculture, right? So it's not just harming the animals directly, but it's encroaching on habitats of wildlife and it's significantly reducing the populations of wildlife. In fact, within the last 100 years, which is around when the extreme industrialization of animal agriculture started occurring, the amount of endangerment has increased by 10,000 times.
Okay, so if we were just to stop farming right now, altogether, not plants, just animals, okay,
Yeah.
where would they go?
So, I mean, there's a couple of
What?
options, but
One sec.
first,
1 sec. Sorry, Ozark. I don't want to interrupt, but John, I think we're getting a little bit of feedback from your mic. So, it's just when you ask your question, then Ozark speaks. Can you just go ahead and mute yourself so that way we don't get the feedback? That would help. But yeah, we're just getting like double. Whenever I talk too loud, or Ozark speaks, I think it's coming through. So yeah, that would help everybody understand a little bit better. Okay, cool. Go ahead, Ozark.
yeah, so I was going to say, hold on, let me remember the question really quick. Oh, what would happen to all the farm animals? So I mean, it's important to note that it would not happen overnight. People would not just go vegan overnight. That would be delusional to believe that. But although there are like 90 billion plus animals that are slaughtered yearly, they're slaughtered at a cyclic rate and also artificially bred at a cyclic rate as well. And the instant we stop artificially breeding these animals, like that number itself is going to significantly decrease. And seeing how much animal agriculture is subsidized by taxpayer dollars, a lot of those subsidies can be used to convert these animal farms with the remainder of the animals into sanctuaries, like obviously for the ones that would not fare well in the wild. But like that would be a good way to look at what could happen with that. Instead of spending billions of dollars to breed and produce animals and the crops that we grow to feed them, spend that to letting like the remainder of them living out the rest of their lives. And you have to think too, like the majority of these animals are smaller animals, and a lot of them have been bred to hell and won't even live that long. You know, like a lot of the chickens that we consume, because they've got so many genetic deficiencies that just makes it like impossible for them to live a wholesome life.
Okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to think like a lot of like when we think of cows, like I know a lot of people think, well, what about these large animals like cows? Like cows make up less than 1% of the animals that are actually consumed. And the majority of these cows are already living on pastures and eating and grazing. You know, they get sent, most of them get sent to feedlots, but you know, it's kind of irrelevant to the after the fact. Like they can just be sterilized and live out the rest of their lives on the pasture like they already are.
So back to what I was saying earlier, what would be wrong with eating the meat of an animal that has lived its life to the fullest?
Because you are still you're making the determination on when to terminate somebody's life to consume them, right? I mean, I guess I could say that there would be nothing like, or it would be morally neutral if you waited for that animal to pass away of natural causes. And then, I mean, I think it would be weird and I wouldn't do it, but it would be a lot different than raising an animal and then deciding, okay, it is now time to end their life and consume them. You know, that's still exploitation. That's still an oppression.
Okay, but what if we think about it through the standpoint of, okay, these cows are bought and sold. Okay, they're now property, and I know that you're probably going to make the connection to slavery, but that's not
Well,
what I'm getting at.
it's commodification, and that's exploitation.
Okay,
Yeah. You also
but
said
these
that
animals are bought and sold.
you also said earlier that you didn't think that this was considered objectifying them, but you're talking about buying and selling them
I
like
know.
objects. You know what I mean?
I'm thinking about it in that perspective now.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I'm thinking about it like that just to get that point of view in my brain for a minute.
Sure.
So, we buy and sell them, and then others determine to whenever to end their life, to whatever. Okay, and there's something wrong with that. But at the same time, we have people that we have locked up in jails, prisons, all this other stuff, and we decide when to take their lives, and there's nothing wrong with that.
My sound cut out again. I'll be right back.
Oh no, you said that. Could you say that again? Because I was responding to somebody, but you're talking about people in like prisons that commit violence that we unalive them. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So, is there nothing wrong with that?
I mean, so, okay, in the
ahead,
case of Oh, go ahead. No, you can go ahead. It's your live.
No, no, you've definitely been doing it longer than me. But I guess the only thing I would say is that it's not really that comparable because these are like innocent animals, right? And you're talking about people that have like committed crimes, and those crimes went through a legislative system of laws and went in front of a court or a jury that felt like how severe was this crime they committed that determines if they face the death sentence or not. So I don't know if it's too
Okay,
comparable.
but even people who are wrongly convicted who are innocent get sent to death.
I was actually just going to bring that up. I don't think that death penalty itself is really that viable just because of how many people are wrongfully convicted. But it's not exploitation, though. There's a difference. It's a different ethical discussion. Here we're comparing like commodifying individuals. Now, I will say that I definitely believe that our prison system is exploitive, especially for-profit prisons. And then a lot of the labor that is used in both for-profit and state prisons. I definitely disagree with that, especially like, seeing that most of these people that are incarcerated are nonviolent offenders. So I definitely have an ethical issue with the whole incarceration system in the United States in general. But but right now we're talking about like you're comparing the death penalty of somebody who was convicted of doing really bad things to somebody versus an animal that just is trying to live its existence,
Okay. And this is the different perspective I was talking about. Like, I was trying to get that point of view.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're having a conversation.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get in on something as well, that you said you wanted to do homesteading, and it sounds like to me that you somewhat understand, because you say, a prayer or thank you to the food that you eat, but that welfare is important to you in some degree, animal welfare and what they experience, right? And you want to do homesteading.
Well, yeah.
But I want to know,
Well,
like,
yeah, it's a living creature.
yeah, but I want to know in this, homesteading of yours, are you just gonna purchase cows and let them live until the end of their days and then eat them? Like, I don't think that's what's gonna happen,
Well,
right? You're gonna take them when it's of a pure benefit to you, whether it's like when the chicken is at its largest or when the cow is whatever milk production slows down, right? So,
well, number one, I don't see a point in killing a female cow. I really don't see the point in that. Like, what's the point in killing a milk cow? I'm not going to eat it. So why not just let it live out its life and die naturally?
Well, eventually they stop producing.
See, that's what I mean. I'm not going to kill it.
But I mean, they
I'm just
they
going to let
stop
it live out its
producing
life.
pretty. They stop producing like relatively like midlife.
That's fine.
so are you gonna
So
I'm
take the
cool with
milk
that.
from? Are you gonna use the milk from the dairy cow?
Well, yeah, if it's still producing, I'm going to use the milk
Why is she producing milk?
for her babies.
Okay, so you're gonna take the baby away from the mom so
No.
that you can get the milk? How are you gonna get the milk?
No, I'm going to take some of the milk and let the baby have the rest of it.
But why not let the baby have all of it? And if there's some left, you would milk the cow for their benefit, because what is it called, Ozark? I forget what it's called. Where they can get like a, what is it
Isn't
with
it like a
their
build-up or
udders?
something?
Yeah, I forget what it's
Oh,
called.
yeah, I don't recall the term for it.
But yeah, see, I could also do it vice versa. Let the baby get the milk first and I take what's left. That could also work for me. It doesn't matter. I just don't see the point in...
You can also just not exploit somebody and get your sustenance from the land. It's healthier.
Yeah,
Okay,
why couldn't
but
you grow like grain or seeds and make milk from that without exploiting
Yeah,
anybody?
because
wheat
it's not
and
milk.
oats and soy are pretty simple to grow, especially if you're doing it on a smaller scale. And they're pretty simple. Like turning oats into oat milk is extremely easy. Turning soy into soy milk's a little bit more of a process, but it's still pretty simple. These are all options, and the amount of time that you would be spending rearing and taking care of animals is all
I agree.
time that would be taken away from doing stuff like that, like what you could be doing, and
Okay,
some.
it's simple. The reasons why I won't grow plants that I can turn into milk is because all these other alternative milks, they just aren't for me. Like, I don't like any of them. Like, that's just my,
But you're
that's,
drinking another animal's secretions that are not designed for your body. There's a reason why most people are lactose intolerant to a degree.
well, I guess I'm just gonna take that risk. I don't know what to say here. Like, if I take a little bit of milk and I have multiple dairy cows and I take a little bit from each one, that's not gonna affect the intake for the calves
Why do you have the cows in the first place?
because I want to have my own milk. I want to have my own food that I grow, that I took care of, that I
Yeah, what?
produced.
But like,
Yeah,
well, for what purpose? Like,
Because
if
I
you,
don't trust grocery stores.
you're unnecessarily oppressing another individual.
yeah,
That's what it
I'm
comes down
allowing
to.
them to live on my
Because of
land
preference.
freely, and all I ask is I get a little bit of milk and some
You've
eggs from the
already
chickens.
so you're allowing an animal that's not really choosing to be there to live on your property because you want to use them. I mean, we've
If you want to
already
look at it that way, you
established.
can.
Well, I mean, we've already established earlier, and you agreed multiple times that it is oppression. You know,
In a
especially if
sense,
the
yes.
situation, especially if the circumstances were turned around and pointed at you. So that's like that. I'm just trying to like let it be known that you are unnecessarily choosing to oppress another because of
But
what you call a preference
unnecessarily to who?
to you. Like you don't
To
have
me,
to do that. Yeah, you don't
but
have
I
to do
find
that.
it necessary.
Okay, do you know what necessity is?
Necessity, it's something that I need. It's something that I need to survive.
Preference, yeah, preference is a desire, and you've already said that it's a preference. Necessity, you don't need dairy to survive. You don't need to consume animals to survive. That is not a
By
necessity.
that logic, I also don't need plants to survive.
No, technically you don't. You could survive on one or the both. You're an omnivore, but you're going to end up exploiting more animals and using more plants in order to feed yourself animal products. It's unsustainable and it's an unnecessary waste of somebody else's life.
yeah, yeah. That's why I'm confused on the homesteading thing because it's I think and Tyson was saying it in the comments as well, as if like the amount of resources that it takes for you to grow oat milk is so far less than having to raise these cows and feed the cows and feed the chickens,
So
and
expensive.
it's like not even cost efficient or even just efficient use of your
Well,
space,
it's not just
period.
that.
Yeah,
Vet bills, like medication and antibiotics and proper supplementation for the animals, like it's going to be exponentially more expensive than just growing your own plant-based foods and eating them. Like you're justifying the stuff saying that it would be necessary because you say it's necessary when it's not, you know.
yeah,
And you're
Just
willing to put yourself through a lot more hardship because of a desire, like at the expense of somebody else who's an unwilling participant.
okay, but it's not like I wouldn't just sit here and just, oh, I'm not gonna take care of this cow. I'm not gonna treat it with respect. I'm not gonna do all this, and that.
We've already
No, no,
discussed
I'm
this
not doing that.
earlier.
Like
We've already
that's not the
discussed
type of
this
person I
earlier
am.
though. We've already discussed this earlier. We've already went over this. It doesn't matter how well you treat somebody. That final action that you do that's exploitive erases all of that. It's oppression.
You mean milking?
Yeah, that's still exploiting somebody. You're touching somebody else's reproductive parts and taking something from their body that is not
Technically, the
meant
udder
for
is a
you.
nipple.
It's still a reproductive organ. It's used for babies to consume food from their mother. Like
It's a nipple.
regardless.
yeah. What gets confusing, John, is that like you know what happens to them, you're against it. You even said that you say prayers, You want things to be more, um, more. What am I looking for? More ethical as far as what happens to these animals. But like everything that you're gonna do when you do homesteading is just further perpetuating that these places exist. You're still gonna take the milk from the mother. You're still gonna use the eggs from the chickens and see them as a commodity for you to gain from, and you're still going to take their life at a time of point in their lives where it's not of natural causes on their own terms, only for your gain because you just like the taste of them. That's the only reason why. That's the only thing that you're holding on to. You agree with us in every other point in that, okay, maybe you don't agree with the word oppression, but everything that we've stated to you and that you're against, and you don't like that veals get slaughtered at a young age, you don't like that, you don't find a point in unaliving a dairy cow, you don't like that they take the milk from the baby, you're only going to take it when, when there's extra. So it's like you're against all of that as well, but you just can't let go of the fact that, oh, they taste good. And that's not a necessity, that's a want.
But that's the thing too. Like he's already agreed several times on it being oppression. So I think John really.
No, I said I could understand that.
No, you. I mean, you've said that you've agreed it was oppression. Like if I turned the circumstances on you, you said it'd be oppression. You know.
Well, I mean, yeah, if
Describe
someone strapped me to a machine and tried to milk me, even though I'm not a female, yeah, I'd feel like I'm being oppressed.
Okay, so that's
Because
oppression,
my
right?
milk isn't beneficial to anybody.
It might be beneficial to somebody. You never know.
Some weirdo.
Yeah, some weirdo who prefers it, right? If it's their preference, it's okay, right? As long as it's their preference, it is okay. You see how silly that kind of
I wish
sounds?
animals could talk.
Well, I mean, but do you see how silly that kind of sounds?
Yes, I guess.
And John,
Yes.
they don't need to like just because they can't speak the same language as
No,
you
no,
doesn't
no,
mean
no,
they
no, no,
can't
no, no.
talk,
I'm
right?
saying that for a completely different reason. I wish an animal could speak just for the fact of I want to know their perspective on it.
Well,
Even though I
here's
can't actually get that, I
that's what
wish
I'm
I could
saying.
because I want to understand.
Go
You
watch
don't
Dominion.
need you don't need to speak with them verbally for them to
Well, you
communicate
can
with
also
you.
understand their body
If
language.
I held a knife to a chicken's or a cow's throat and pressed it into them, do you think that they're just gonna stand there or they're gonna move away? They're gonna move away, right?
They're gonna try and kill you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that like a lot of the communication between interspecies is the fact that we can communicate with body language. That if I kick a dog, it's gonna tell me it doesn't like that because it's gonna put its tail between its legs, it's gonna whine, and it's gonna run away from me, or it's gonna bite the shit out of me, right? So like just
Okay.
because we can't verbally communicate with these animals does not mean that they cannot communicate with us and show us what they want and what they desire. When they put these cows into what's called a rape rack, where they literally do that, and that's what it's called, the cow doesn't just sit there and let them AI them. They move around, they kick around. That's why they confine them to a tight space, right? In the same way
See,
when
I
they
wouldn't do that.
well, in the same way when they take the bolt gun to the cow's head and they're confused, they don't know where they are. They don't just sit there. They kick around. They try to get out. They try to jump over the gate and the barrier. So they don't need to say, "Hey, leave me alone," to display that they don't want
Well, yeah,
this to
no, I
happen
can
to them.
understand that. It's very easy to read body language.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my father worked on a dairy farm and came home with broken ribs at least once a year. Like he got kicked at so many times. They don't enjoy it. But I ask? I want you to do me a favor, John. Screenshot this live right now, and you'll see that list of resources. I want you to go watch Dominion and Darius Scary. All right. And then if you go watch those, I want you to come back, um, follow us, and then eventually have the conversation about how you felt after watching that and what your current perspective is, um, then compared to this conversation we're having right now.
Yeah. I think that's a good starting point to at least, if you are going to continue eating the animals, they at least deserve the basic respect. Most basic. I mean, obviously, I would say most basic respect is not eating them. But if you're not gonna care, at least watch and see what happens to them. And I would say, if you want, you can start with Dairy is Scary. It's not as graphic, but it's only 5 minutes long. It's on YouTube. It's free. It's only 5 minutes long. Goes into the dairy industry. And when you watch Dominion, which is also on YouTube and free, um, you know, if a part of it gets too hard for you to watch, just fast forward a little bit. Fast forward, go to the next part of the documentary, and just watch a little bit there. And just if you can't watch it because it's too much to stomach, then just watch it in intervals and scroll through so you at least understand why we're here advocating for the animals and why it's oppression, why it's exploitation.
I mean, from the points that you guys have given me, I already understand why it's oppression and why it's not necessarily good for the animal. And we've already talked about my views on this as well. Sure, I don't agree with everything that happens in the dairy and meat industries, but at the
But
same time, at the end of the
John,
day,
John,
no
just
matter.
for a second, I'm not trying to be rude, but you've already expressed this, and we understand what you've said loud and clear. All we're doing is asking you just to go watch these resources, so that way you can actually make an informed decision instead of choosing willful ignorance to the consequences of your actions before making a decision. That's all we're asking.
You know what? I'll give it to you. I'll go watch the videos and I'll be back.
All right.
Awesome. That would
I
be
appreciate that.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you.
will come back. All right. What is it? Dominion and Dairy is Scary?
Yeah. I'm probably
Yeah.
gonna
So
be.
when you search up Dominion on YouTube, type in Dominion 2018 full documentary.
Yeah.
What year?
2018.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll be back.
Well, John,
Sweet.
I just wanted to let you know. Look, I'm actually gonna end the live here in a little bit. I gotta go back to work, but follow me, follow Ozark. I go live every day. I will be live tomorrow. I might be live later, but probably not. And yeah, tomorrow when I'm live around the same time, 1 p.m. EST, you're more than welcome to come up and tell us about it. I'll
All
gladly have
right.
you up.
Thanks,
All right.
John.
No problem.
Thanks for your time, John. I appreciate it.
Y'all have a good day.
You too. Thanks, Ozark. You definitely, you came in and you honed in on the whole conversation there. Am I low? I'm definitely.
Sorry if I hijacked your live.
No. Do not apologize. I wish more people would come around and kind of participate because this definitely was your area of expertise. Well, at least where the conversation started, and hearing you have a conversation with him definitely helps myself. So no, I do not apologize at all. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you having me and letting me come up and join the discussion.
Yeah, that was good. I think after he watches the documentaries, maybe he'll have a little bit of a shift. I feel like he's there. He just doesn't understand 100%, but I think, I have some faith, I guess.
Well, I mean, he's only 18, so I definitely chalk most of his logic up to an experience, and that's why I was like extremely patient with him, But I think you're right. I think getting a little bit more perspective might at least plant the seeds to change his mind sooner than later.
Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully he doesn't listen to people like Tyson as if like biased propaganda. It's what happens on all the farms. It's not anything that's unique. But yeah, I'm probably gonna end the live and get back to work. I appreciate you being here again, and I think that was a productive conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I'll catch you later. Thank you.
Thanks, Ozark. I'll see you later. But yeah, everybody, I think I'm gonna end the live. I need to. I went on for longer than expected, but that was a pretty good conversation. Yeah. Sorry, smoking dog. You just gotta be patient. I know. Nah, just come back tomorrow. Follow me and come back tomorrow. I'm not gonna. One short question always turns into another hour. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, Anna. Yeah, they're gonna watch. Yeah, Peace for All. Yeah, they're gonna watch. So I mean, he at least was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So I think that's always a good start. People be more informed on their choices. But yeah, that's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys on the other lives. Bye. Have oops, I just like chewed my chip. I always forget that I have to end the YouTube live separately. Ugh, mouth noises. But thanks everybody for being here. Yeah, you know what? I need to do better. I need to definitely clip. Maybe I'll do that today. Maybe when I find free time, I'll go through and clip this conversation, find key talking points, and post them on YouTube. But thanks everybody for being here. You guys are awesome. I feel like it's slowly growing on the YouTube side. Ian, Canada. I haven't seen you before, but welcome. I go live every day, Monday through, well, I think it's Tuesday through Friday, because Vegan Store Related goes live Monday, and I just kind of hop on her live. But yeah, Monday through Friday. If nobody's live on Monday, I go live same time, 1 p.m. EST. Thank you all for being here. Y'all rock. Thanks on the YouTube side.